tanks have rolled into Gaza, by the way. The ground invasion with an asterisk has begun. They're doing soft kind of northern Gaza invasions right now. A lot more to come, though. And specifically, we're talking about once the IDF troops enter Gaza and their densely populated terrain, they're going to deal with a network of underground tunnels. And the sheer number of men, women, and children taken captive present Israel with the most complex hostage crisis that the country obviously has ever faced. I mean, look at what they're dealing with there. You can see the tunnel operation, mounting rescue operations in the midst of the massive Israeli bombardment of Gaza that followed the deadly Hamas rampage in southern Israel would only make an already difficult mission even more formidable. Take a look at this headline we want to put up. Gaza is tiny and watched closely by Israel, but rescuing hostages there would be a daunting task. Well, joining us now to discuss this more is Derrick Anderson, Army combat veteran with the Special Forces Green Beret. Derrick, thank you for your service to our country. You're also running for a seat down there in Virginia, congressional seat in Virginia. So I don't even know where to begin, because these tunnels, there are about 1,300 or so of them. It runs about 300 miles long around the country. I mean, other than North Korea, this is the biggest tunnel network in the world. They call it like the Gaza Metro. Talk to us a little bit about how they go about, infiltrating these tunnels. I've heard about sponge bombs and kind of closing that off. So I don't know. Tell us some of the tactics. What are they going to do here?
Yeah, David, thank you again for having me. It's going to be slow. This clearance is going to start. You mentioned earlier that they started in the north. We had indications that the Israelis and the IDF were going to begin their ground assault in the north, based on their leaflets and based on their messaging to the Palestinians. How I envision that the Israelis are going to do this is they're going to take their vehicles, as you've already seen, bulldozers, and start methodically clearing the pathways and avenues of approach, the roadways, alleyways, in order for the ground forces to actually get into the locations where the tunnels are. Now, in my experiences, when I was in Israel training with the Israeli Special Forces and the IDF, oftentimes, they would take these tunnel entrances and exits and put them in buildings. They put them in schools. They put them in locations where civilians would usually be located. And you saw some of the pictures, David. The entrance points for these tunnels are small. If I had to envision over the last, 19 days since Hamas attacked in Israel, every single day that Hamas has been sitting there, and the Israelis have been bombarding them with artillery and aerial fires. If I had to envision it, Hamas is likely to have booby-trapped some of these tunnels, right? Entrance points, egress points are always going to be choke points. If you see some of the pictures that you're seeing, some of the tunnels split. Those are another issue that the Israelis are going to have. And then lastly are the hostages. If Hamas is in fact keeping these hostages down in the tunnels, that just adds another additional layer that the Israelis are going to have to deal with.
Right. So I'm looking at these sponge bombs that I've been researching this morning. Apparently, they seal off the entrances and the exits. I mean, that's kind of the way they're looking at doing that. Is that one of the tactics we're talking about here?
Yeah, and the Israelis in the past, when I was down there, they showed me one of the mock-up tunnels, and that picture right there is a perfect example, David, of what they look like. They go through Hamas, they dig, and then they just put these concrete blocks in. And they just can continue to move forward. Again, the problem is when the IDF go into these tunnels, they have turns. They will likely use smaller armed weaponry to go through and clear them, and a lot of times they use dogs. But again, when you're going from one, pick your destiny. When you have to go left or right, which one do you pick? And to your point, if they have a sponge bomb on one side, to stop that egress or for the IDF, then they have to go the other route. And we don't know what that other route looks like. And again, my biggest fear is the booby traps, the IEDs that the IDF that the Hamas has potentially booby trapped these tunnels with. And again, you're talking 300 miles of tunnel systems that they're going to have to clear. And you see that picture again.
Insane.
They're going to be single file line moving through these tunnels.